in my mouth. Or sorry, I should call him Moses. Yeah, Moses. Yeah.
And you're going to be strict on time, and your title is it kind?
Okay, let's get started. So you notice the reference. I can't say chapter because there's no chapters in the Psalms. So it's just Psalm 136. Wait, I don't want to go there yet. All right, I have a few things to clean up before we get into the class. So first of all, thank you so much for having me here this week. It's been amazing. Also, my first time here. Hopefully not my last. All right, some housekeeping. First of all, I mentioned a few times that I would tell you the name of the author who publicized the THINK acronym. His name is Alan Redpath. His name was Alan Redpath. He's written a lot of books and did a lot of speaking. He is not credited directly with coming up with the acronym, but he is the one that, he may have come up with it, it's hard to tell, but he definitely spread it around with his teaching and his work. So, oh, that's more volume. Good, all right. So that's first, Alan Redpath. Second, I mentioned the book In His Steps, so we'll give you a little bit more detail about that. It was written by Charles Monroe Sheldon. It was first published in 1896, and you'll find that on some of the more modern productions of it, it actually says as a subtitle, "What would Jesus do?" right in the subtitle. And apparently, a little birdie told me that it is available on Kindle for free. So I think that's correct information. I haven't verified that myself since I'm not a Kindle guy, but you can look for it on Kindle apparently, if you're a Kindle person. Oh, sorry, it's not free, it's 99 cents. That might change things drastically for some of you, but is that 99 cents US? Yes, all right. Okay, I'm out. All right, okay. So, and now, okay, I want to talk to you about a mug. It was my birthday last week, so we don't need to sing or anything. I got out of that one. But I want to tell you about two things, actually, a mug and a charcuterie board that I got from my birthday from someone who will remain nameless. But she's sitting right there. All right, anyway. So the charcuterie board was ordered for me through Brother Steve Johnson, and what I'm told is that he makes these charcuterie boards for people if they make a donation to Haiti. And well, they make it to him, he makes it to Haiti. I think that's the way it works, and he has a website for that. So I'm not here to tell you it's my birthday. I'm here to tell you about what Steve Johnson is doing, and I think that's wonderful. And I don't know if you can see my charcuterie board. If you want to see it, it's in my room. I'll show it to you. But it's also, I think there's a picture of it online on his website or something. But anyways, you certainly might want to take advantage of that opportunity to help out with that very important work. And the second thing is the mug, which I got from the same person. You'll understand as I talk. I was going to bring it, and I didn't want to bring it, and then I wanted it, and I didn't bring it. But I'll tell you all about it. It is a red mug, and right in the bottom where the liquid goes, it has "I love you." And then all around the outside, it has "I love you" written, you can probably already guess, in multiple languages, including semaphore. Does anyone know the language semaphore? It's a flag language, yeah, with the different flags. It has Braille on it, and not just pictures of Braille, actual Braille on it. Now, you might not know this, but my grandmother, Ruth Redmond, was a Braille translator for multiple Christadelphian magazines for years and years and years. And I have her Braille writer now, so that's pretty cool. It has Hebrew on it. Now, when I was first getting into learning multiple languages and all that, one of the first things I want to learn how to say in any language I could was how to say "I love you" in that language. Something I've been working on for years and years, so I can say things like "Yatabya Lublu," which is Russian. That's the informal. Lublю vas is the formal. Segopo. Anyone? Segopo. Sagapeo. Agape. It's Greek. And let's see what else. Ninakupenda. Where are they? Swahili. Great. Good job. All right. So one of the languages, I had a colleague at school who was from Lithuania and Jewish and moved to Israel and spoke Hebrew fluently. So I went up to her and said, teach me how to say I love you in, no, don't take it personally, but teach me how to say I love you in Hebrew. And she said, well, you saying it or me saying it? I'm like, well, what's the difference? Well, I is different for males and females. I'm like, whoa, this is going to be really hard. So I never really did master that one. So we're going to talk a lot about how to say words along those lines in the biblical languages this morning. So that was my little intro to that. All right, but let's get into it. This word, this Hebrew word, is a very, very, very special word in Hebrew. Hopefully everyone knows it. If you don't, you'll know it after today. It's the word chesed, and it's found in Micah 6, verse 8, which we looked at before. He has told you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justice, and to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. I'll let you figure out where it is in Micah 6, verse 8. So, if you look in your Strong's Concordance at the different ways that the King James Version translates the word chesed, you get this list. All right, this is a very difficult word to translate, and we'll talk about why. I should just move over. You can hear me. Good. Okay, good. So we have 149 times this word is translated mercy in the King James Version. All right, when a word is used well over 100 times, it's worth being familiar with. It's an important word. It's translated kindness 40 times, which, under the topic for today, that's why we're talking about it. So we're already almost at 200 just with the first two translations that we haven't gone through the whole list yet. I think it really changes the volume whether I'm looking up or down here. So loving kindness, which is one of my favorite translations of this word, 30 times. Now we're well over 200. Goodness, kindly, merciful, favor, good, goodliness, pity, reproach, and wicked thing. All right, now you're all like, wait, what? Reproach, wicked thing? Jim told us about, I don't know, we've talked a lot about it between ourselves. I think he said it to the group too as well. Sometimes, you mentioned Jason Hensley and the work that he's done. Sometimes Hebrew words can be translated very differently based on context. There's a word in French that does this as well, right? And it's the word personne, which means, what do you think personne means? It sounds very much like an English word. Personne. It sounds like person, right? And if you see it written, it's written virtually the same way, except there's an extra any. Personne. It means two things in French. It means nobody and anybody, right? And it's just based on context which one it means, right? Personne, nobody, or personne, anybody. So it's a similar kind of thing. It can be negative or positive, and you have to know from the context which one it is. But this is a very, very powerful word in Hebrew. It is the love word in Hebrew. Even though it's often translated mercy, there's problems with that, and we'll look through and see. So it is the word that's in this Psalm 136, which is the psalm that repeats this refrain all throughout the psalm after every verse. I will give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endureth forever. Where do you think it is here in this verse? Mercy, right. Now, check this out. This is the King James Version, right? Yeah, you can tell by the eth, right? We should call it the King James-eth version or something. All right. The New Living Translation, which is really popular these days. A lot of people have it. It's not the same thing as the Old Living Translation, which is just called the Living Translation at all. The translators, they had a bad rap, basically, from the Living Translation. Oh, it's just a paraphrase. And so they went back and they translated the Bible this time, and they produced this New Living Translation, which is a far better piece of work than the original Living Translation. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His faithful love endures forever. Big change from mercy. ESV, give thanks to the Lord for he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever. Again, steadfast love. Now, this is not a word-for-word equivalence, right? We're having this thing here where we're taking one word, chesed, in the Hebrew, and here it's translated one word-for-word equivalence, just the word mercy. And then now we're using two words, faithful love. And now again, using two words, steadfast love. There's a reason why they do that, because they just feel the one word alone isn't strong enough to convey the meaning of this Hebrew word. And this is not a new problem. The NIV just used the word love. His love endures forever. The CSB, his faithful love endures forever. And probably my favorite translation here, and it's a good translation, but I mean for this verse particularly. Give thanks to the Lord for he is good, for his loving kindness. So really two words, loving and kindness put together, is everlasting. Loving kindness. The length that these translators are going to try to express what this word means. How do you say this in English? So I'm going to show you some other words, and this is why the word mercy isn't very adequate for translating this word. So here's Exodus 33. This is a phenomenal part of Scripture where God reveals his character and his glory to Moses. And he says, I will make all my goodness pass before thee, and I will proclaim the name of the Lord before thee, and will be gracious. That's the Hebrew word hanan, to whom I will be gracious, hanan, and I will show mercy, raham, to whom on whom I will show mercy, raham. So there's the word mercy, and also the word is translated gracious here, hanan. These are both other Hebrew words which are translated mercy. Do you see the problem? Now we have three Hebrew words that all get translated mercy. Here they had two of them in the same verse and had to come up with different English words to translate them. Gracious and mercy. So we have the Hebrew word hanan and the Hebrew word racham. So have you heard of these words before? Oh, you've heard of one of them. You just don't know you have yet. So hanan, and you can see it's also not anywhere near as often used as chesed, but still quite often. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 50, 60 in there. Anyone who's better at math than me can figure that out. Mercy 16 times. Again, the dominant translation, just like chesed, the dominant translation of hanan is mercy. And then gracious. And of course, now we know twice it's translated gracious simply because the other word for mercy, raham, is in the same verse. So they had to come up with a different word to translate it. This is the translation problem. All right? 88, thank you. All right, and then we have merciful 12 times, which is, again, really the same thing as mercy, just a different part of speech in the English. So 28 times for mercy there. Supplication 10 times, favor 7 times, besought 4 times, pity 4 times. Miscellaneous, what is that? It doesn't mean that in the script it's miscellaneous. It means that there's 12 unique ways it's translated, and there just isn't enough space in the slide. And while Strong's lists them as miscellaneous, and I would have to have looked every one of them up and found out what it was. Not worth it. 12 unique translations of this word. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 19 different ways one word is translated into English in the Hebrew. And for reasons, right? And it's not really something that just any old person can just randomly say, I don't want to do it this way, I want to do it that way. The translators have their reasons. Like we looked at the one where you can't just keep saying, well, I will have mercy on whom I have mercy, and I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy. That doesn't work. So it's translated two different ways in that verse. Well, the two different words for the same idea. All right, raham, the word that you know, but you don't know that you know. So again, translated mercy 32 times. The dominant translation of yet another word is mercy, right? So in other words, unless you mark up your Bible or read an interlinear, you're not going to know when you see the word mercy, what the Hebrew word is. Although sometimes I'm reading, I'm like, I bet that's chesed there. And I have the numbers on my side, but sometimes you can tell from the context that, oh, this one's going to be chesed. Compassion 8 times, and you notice there's also some of the other words that are used are interchangeable with the other Hebrew words. Pity 3 times, love 1 time, merciful 1 time, and here's the one that you know, ruhama, right? Where do we know ruhama from? From Hosea. Hosea had 3 children, right? Lo Ami, Lo Ruhama, and Jezreel. And Lo Ruhama, the lo means no, not have mercy. Lo Ami, not my people. And then people who I would not have mercy on, I will have mercy on. Those people that were not my people, I will make my people. And so that's the message of Hosea, and this word Ruhama is the word used for mercy in Hosea. So it's a one time it occurs as Ruhama, but that's because a lot of the times in the translation, you'll see the word mercy when it's Ruhama, and you kind of lose that connection unless you mark it in and you take a note that when you see mercy in Hosea, it's probably the word Racham because of this connection with the name Ruhama. Okay, so it's a bit of fun Hebrew. So let's look at some other verses. So here is the New Testament version of Exodus 33 when it's quoted by Paul in Romans. For he says to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. And we see two different Greek words being used for the same reason, right? You need two different words because there's two different words, Raham and I can't even remember the word, Hanan and Racham. So he uses the very, very common word eleo in the Greek for one of them, and he uses a less common word oiktiro for the other one. All right. So let's take a look at, also you notice I have the, this is the Septuagint, so the Greek translation of the Hebrew Old Testament. I've noted in Exodus 34, the next chapter, similar circumstances, and the Lord passed by before him. And in Exodus 33, he's talking to him, telling him what he's going to do, and then in 34, he actually does the revelation of his glory. And the Lord passed by before him and proclaimed, the Lord God, merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abundant in goodness and truth. A whole list of the characteristics of God, which we're going to come back to in the New Testament later. The Lord God, merciful. There's Raham, which is translated oiktiran in the Septuagint, as well as bringing it forward into the New Testament. And gracious, and then Eliaman, or Elia, which is the other word for mercy, is translation in the Septuagint of Hanan, long-suffering and abundant in goodness, and there's chesed. All three of them in one verse. Three different Hebrew words that are translated predominantly mercy in the Old Testament, all being used by God to describe himself. Now think about the circumstances here. God is revealing his glory to Moses. I am the God that brought your people out of slavery, out of Egypt, and I'm taking you to the promised land. And this is what I want you to know about. I am every Hebrew word for mercy, right? I am Raham, I am Hanan, I am Chesed. And he says Chesed as the third one, then it has the word truth after that. But, so you see that there are multiple words to express this concept in Hebrew. Why? Because it's an important concept. You could use the I don't know what to call it, the thing that we have in Scripture of in the mouth of two or three witnesses is my word established. And here we have three witnesses, three Hebrew words which mean mercy, which God uses to explain his character to people. So really, really important concept to God, obviously. So let's just flip forward into the New Testament for a second and look at the Greek. There's three words in here that I've noted, and we know the first one, right? Agape. But love ye your enemies, King James Version, and do good and lend, hoping for nothing again, and your reward shall be great, and ye shall be children of the highest, for he is kind. This is the word in Greek, Christos, which we'll talk about more. It is the word that's used when Jesus says, my yoke is easy, right? My yoke is kind. So this is a concept of kindness from Jesus in the New Testament. Unto the unthankful, unto the evil, be ye therefore merciful. And there's that word we saw before, oiktirman, as your Father also is merciful. And that's echoing back to Exodus 33 and 34 again with that phrase. So I want to pick on a concept here of kindness to get more practical, not just dictionary stuff, but real practical stuff. And this is something that people have noted about non-Christians. I ask people this, you're not a Christian, what do you think Christianity is all about? And this is a verse that they quote all the time. Oh yeah, that's the religion that teaches love your enemies. And of course, then they're kind of throwing that in your face because, Christianity doesn't have a really Christianity, mainstream Christianity does not have a good history of loving your enemies, right? Right? Mainstream Christianity, the idea of loving your enemies is having a one-day truce in the middle of World War I, where the Germans and the Allies came out of the trenches, and what did they celebrate together? Christmas. And then they went back and started killing each other again. Love your enemies one day a year. That's not the idea here. So we're going to look at an Old Testament example of kindness. Before I do that, I want to hear from you. When you think of examples, and I'm saying Old Testament because the obvious example of kindness is Jesus. We're all going to say, Jesus showed kindness. I want you to think of an Old Testament example when someone showed kindness, not God, not angels, but a human being showed kindness. Who do you think of? Elijah? Elisha, yeah, right. Are you thinking of the blindness thing? Yeah, absolutely. I just gave an exhortation on that. Elijah calls fire down from heaven and wipes out 100 guys plus their captain, so 102. Elisha, he just shown his servant the power of God, the chariots and horsemen of God all around on the hills. And then the enemy comes in, and all Elisha has to go is, boom, right? One angel in one night killed 185,000 people. What can a whole army of angels do? And what does Elisha do? He makes them blind. He captures them, and he takes them into Samaria, and he turns them over to the king. And they're like, should we kill them? And he says, no, feed them and send them home with a message. That's kindness, right? He had them in his hand. And they knew. It's like, well, we heard about this Elisha guy, and Elijah just wiped people out with fire. And this guy is twice as powerful, and yet he showed this beautiful kindness. Anyone else? Who else do you think of in the Bible, in the Old Testament, who is kind?
David.
All right, when do you think of David being kind?
When he went to cut the hem of Saul's garment and he had restraint.
All right. I should not lift his hand against the Lord's anointment. I think of someone else in the story of David that showed kindness. A woman, Abigail, right, who went out and intervened so that bloodshed wouldn't happen between David's men and her husband's men. So another good example of David's lifetime of kindness. Anyone else? There's one name I'm expecting to hear. Boaz, absolutely. One of my favorite examples of kindness. I mean, I think the sisters can relate to this because I've been told, and men and women on this level think very differently, right? The walking down the street thing. Right, you get off the bus at the same time. I'm going to give you the man's perspective. I get off the bus at the same time as a woman. It's late at night. I'm thinking, well, I should stay near that woman so I can protect her. And the woman's like, I hope that guy stays really far away from me because he's making me nervous, right? Totally different way of thinking. And you look at what Boaz did. And he told this man, I want you to keep your eye out for her. Don't come near her. Just keep your eye out and make sure that she's okay. That is, how did this guy know that? That's brilliant. You don't think of people thinking on those levels at that point, right? I mean, guys have to have this trained into us, right? It's like, no, don't walk near them, right? Go on the other side of the street, you know? They can see you. Walk a little bit ahead so they can see you. I had this happen to me one time. I was about 14 or 15 years old. I was walking home from work, and I took the wrong bus, and I had a bit of a hike to get from the bus stop to my house. So I was kind of in a hurry. I was wearing boat deck shoes, you know, those things they used to wear in the 80s that had no soles at all, and very uncomfortable. And I was like trying to get home, and it's like not having a good time. And there's this little family, maybe a preteen girl and her parents walking ahead of me, and I was kind of running, walking, and I kept, every time, the girl kept looking back, and every time she looked back, I was a lot closer than she expected, and I got right up behind them. I didn't want to run past them, so I stopped running when I got up behind them, and I was going to walk by, and just as I was about to walk by, she said, that guy behind us could be a rapist. And then I walked right by her just as she said that. It's like, whoa. But that's how people feel. That's thing. And Boaz was like, look out for her, right? Don't go near her, just watch out. Keep your eye on her, make sure nothing happens to her. That's amazing. All right.
One more example.
All right, well, yeah, I'm going to give you another example that it just kept coming into my head, and no, not that. That's not a good example. I couldn't get rid of it, so I'm going to share it with you just to get it off my chest. I told Will I'd be showing you a very surprising example. So this is the story of Abner and Asahel, Joab's little brother. It's a really interesting story. Abner was the dude, right? He was the captain of the guard for Saul's household and for his son Ishbosheth after he died. And he was the man, right? He was the top soldier in Israel. So I don't know what he looked like, but he must have been tough. And they just lost this big battle against David's men, and Abner wasn't hurt. He was fine, right? Because, yeah, I don't think he lost a fight. Right? He was just a tough man. And he was leaving the battle and trying to get out of there. And Asahel chases after him, right? It says, now Asahel was as swift of foot as a wild gazelle. He was fast. And he chases after Abner, and he catches up to him. It says, and as he went, he turned neither to the right hand nor to the left from following Abner. He just kept after him. He's like, I'm going to catch this guy. Sometimes you got to wonder, you ever see like a pet, like a very small dog, maybe that's chasing after some animal in the yard? You're like, what is he going to do if he catches it? Has he thought about that? No. Anyway, so Asahel's chasing after Abner. And Abner tries so hard to be kind to this kid that's chasing him. Right? So Abner looked behind him and said, is it you, Asahel? And he answered, he knew him. And he says, it is I. Abner says to him, turn aside to your right hand to your left and seize one of the young men and take his spoil. In other words, go get his armor and put it on. You can't face me. Right? You're not equipped. You're not strong enough. You're not my match. Like, go get some armor at least if you're going to do this. And he tells him, go get some armor. But Asahel wouldn't listen. So he tries again. And Abner said again to Asahel, turn aside from follow me. Why should I strike you to the ground? You can't win against me. He's telling him, stop. This is foolish. Right? How then could I lift up my face to your brother Joab? He might have had some motivation. If there's anyone, and we know how it turned out if you know the story, if there's anyone that could take Abner out, it was Joab. So maybe Abner was just looking after himself. But I don't think that's all there was to it. I think he really didn't want anything bad to happen to this kid. But he refused to turn aside. Therefore, Abner struck him in the stomach with the butt of a spear. Now, he didn't use the point. He just went like this. Maybe he was just trying to convince him to back off. But unfortunately, it went right through him, and he died. I don't think Abner actually even wanted to kill him. It doesn't make sense. He was trying so hard to convince this kid, stop, you're being an idiot. You can't win this. It's not going to go well for you. And he just wouldn't listen. And you know, you probably always thought, oh, just Abner murdered the guy. But he tried so hard not to. And he said, well, he shouldn't have killed him anyways. Right? Well, yeah, sure. But how many times has God been kind to us? Right? Told us, stop being foolish. Do this, don't do this. You can't do this. And what's the result? What will happen in the end if we don't accept God's kindness and listen to his warnings? Right? We're not going to end up any better off than Asahel did here. So it's a warning that the repeated attempts at kindness, at listening to the message, taking the warnings that are being given to us, do we listen? All right, so Matthew chapter 9 quotes the Old Testament here. But go ye and learn what that meaneth. I will have mercy and not sacrifice, for I am not come to call the righteous but sinners to repentance. And here's the use of this Greek word in the New Testament. Again, quoting from the Old Testament, Hosea 6, verse 6. So the word mercy in Greek, this is the standard word for mercy. And it's pretty much always translated mercy. It's very, very consistent. So 27 times we get that's the verb. 28 times we get the noun, and we get the negative, analeos, no mercy, one time, which gives us a total of 50. So I can't figure this out because it says that it's 59 times in 53 verses, and then when I add up the numbers, I get 56. So there's some other things going on there. But most of the time, this is always 59 times. It's translated mercy. It's very, very consistent translation of this word into Greek. Unlike the Hebrew, right? There is a very consistent Greek word, which is almost always the word for mercy, and it's pretty much always translated mercy in the King James Version anyways. And there's this other word we saw before, oitirmon, which is translated merciful twice, tender of mercy once, and the other form of it, which would be the verb or something. Anyway, it's translated that way 5 times. I think it's always a noun. Adjective and noun. All right, so again, very consistently translated mercy, but now we have this conflict because you have these 2 different Greek words that are both translated mercy without much distinguishing between them in the English. because we just don't have the range of words for this apparently in English that they have in Greek, and definitely not what they have in Hebrew. And you can see this word occurs a lot less often than the more common Greek word for mercy. And you can see the consistency here of the translation of Elios into English in the King James Version. Yeah, and you see at the bottom, that's the noun form, 28 times mercy, nothing else, only ever translated mercy. There's some few little variations. Compassion a couple of times in the middle there, pity once, but almost always mercy. I think that if you take those compassions and pity, that gives you the 3 that we're missing from before. All right. And as I said, this one quotes Hosea 6, verse 6, and guess what? That is the Hebrew word chesed in the Hebrew. For I desired mercy, chesed, and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. Just check my time. Okay. Here's another word. I absolutely love this word. This is a very special word in the Bible. It's almost usually translated compassion, but there's another interesting translation of it, which came up in our quiz. Not the translation, but the English word. It was one of the words we had to fill in the blank there. And that is the word bowels, right? Bowels of mercy. And that is this word splanknitzomai, or splanknon, which is where we get the English word spleen from, and why it's translated bowels, because it's, that feeling in your stomach, right, that you get. And not the same as, the butterflies you get with love, I'm so in love. This is the one where, I feel so bad for that. I want to help that person. I just got this feeling deep inside my gut. And so they associated that with bowels in the Greek. But this is a really, really special word. And do I have a slide for that? I think I do. Right. So 9 times when it's used in the New Testament, it's referring to Jesus' reaction to people, having compassion on them. He was moved with compassion. And 3 times, Jesus uses it in his own speaking when he's giving a parable. The Good Samaritan, the merciful Lord, and the father of prodigal son are all described with this word. Right? There are no times in the New Testament when this word is used of or by anyone else. It is a Jesus word. Right? It is the way that Jesus is constantly described, and the way Jesus talks about having that character. He uses this word, splanknon. So here's an example. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them, bowels of mercy, splanknon, because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. And I love this verse because it brings back that sheep without a shepherd, which takes us right back to Isaiah 53, right? Sheep without a shepherd, that whole concept. And then we have the fruit of the Spirit. I told you I'd come back to where in the New Testament, the same kinds of words that are used to describe the character of God are brought forward in the New Testament, and this is where they're brought forward in the fruit of the Spirit, right? But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, and faithfulness. And now we have another word, Christotes, which is the same word we saw before. Does anyone remember where we had Christotes before? Remember, my yoke is easy. That word kindness, that's the Greek word Christotes there as well. So one of the fruit of the Spirit, it uses the word Christotes. I just want to talk about the fruit of the Spirit for a second. It's one of my favorite things to talk to young people about. I'm a little cynical when it comes to young people. I look at them like, wow, you're a teenager and you're at church. What's going on with that? Why are you here? Right? And it's awesome that they're here, but it always makes me like, wow, we should be really, really, really happy to see our young people here. And I talked to them, I said, there's 2 lists in this chapter, a short list and a long list. This is the short list. Does anyone know what the long list is called? The works of the flesh. And I talked to teenagers about works of the flesh versus the fruit of the Spirit. Because I know I was a teenager, and you got partying in the works of the flesh. Right? It uses other words. We won't get into those words, but it's all about partying. And then we got these words. I mean, we've all been teenagers, right? Which list is more appealing? Party, or love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. Right? And you can see, about the Amish Mennonite community, that when the child becomes of age, they actually get kicked out of the community. It's like, go experience the world, go party, and when you're ready, at the end of your period, I think it's 3 years or something, come back if you want and join the community because you chose to, and you partied it out, and now you can join our community and practice the fruit of the Spirit instead of the works of the flesh. It doesn't work very well because a lot of the kids never come back, and they get a reputation in their community for being the worst people ever, right? They end up being drug dealers because they just let the works of the flesh loose because that's what they're encouraged to try. I don't recommend that approach at all. We should be teaching our children the fruit of the Spirit, not the works of the flesh. But this is what I ask the young people. I say, sure, the works of the flesh, the party message, that sounds really appealing. But let me ask you one thing. You go to this party, and you do everything, every kind of drug and all the bad things that are available to you at this party. But you're there with a friend, a wingman they call them, right? Do you want your friend practicing the works of the flesh, or do you want them practicing the fruit of the Spirit? When you're drunk out of your mind, you can't even walk straight, you need someone to hold your hair in the bathroom. Do you want someone with you that practices the works of the flesh or the fruit of the Spirit? Do you want someone that will love and take care of you, put up with your bad behavior, make sure you get home safely? Or do you want someone that's just as trashed out of their mind as you are? And what do you think everyone says? What do you think everyone says? They want their friend that's with them, looking after them, to be practicing the fruit of the Spirit while they're out there doing the works of the flesh. That's what they say. That's what they think. And I say, why not be the friend? Why not be the friend? That's what we need to work on. We need to be the person practicing kindness. But does that mean we don't have any friends that are doing the works of the flesh? Because if we're not their friend, then do they have a friend that practices the fruit of the Spirit in their lives? Do we just kick them out, say, go into the world and do all those things? And if you ever manage to get it out of your system and realize, like Manasseh did, that you should come back and repent? Or are we there right next to them, making sure that they're okay? Always making sure they know they're welcome no matter what they're doing. Forgiving, loving, being patient and kind to them. Good and faithful. And so I just put the other, I think you're doing Colossians 3, right? This one? Colossians 3? No, it's just private conversation. All right, Colossians 3, verse 12. The other list of the fruit of the Spirit, right? It's not called the fruit of the Spirit in Colossians chapter 3, but it's the same list. Put on, therefore, as the elect of God, elect. What is the Greek word behind elect? Ekletos, right? It is the verb form of ecclesia. Right, the called out ones, the elect of God, holy and beloved. There's bowels again, bowels of mercies. That's splanknon of oiktirmos, kindness. There's Christotes again, humbleness of mind, meekness, long suffering. So all of these words, mercy, 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 kindness, 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 all through this other list of the fruit of the Spirit in Colossians 3. And that brings us back to our verse. Our theme verse for these classes. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there's any excellence, if there's anything worthy of praise, think about these things. And I think I have one last slide. I have this. Of course, a reminder of what we're supposed to think about. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? So I hope that through this week we've been able to think about these things, been able to think about how we can, hopefully it hasn't just all been Greek and Hebrew, but hopefully it's been practical as well, and you've been able to think of how in your life you can practice these things, and how this could be, Brother Peter in his talk last night, was it? Yeah, was talking about working to fix the wrongs in our community, and it starts by how we think about things, right? What are we trying to do here? Are we trying to get rid of people? Are we trying to bring people in? Are we trying to separate people? Are we trying to bring people together? Are we showing love, or are we showing judgment? And there's no one way of doing anything. There's no right or wrong answers here. Well, there are wrong answers, but hopefully we can not do things that are blatantly wrong. But there's some difficult choices, right? We have to make decisions, and we have to really think about how we're treating other people and how we're acting, and make sure that as much as we can, we're finding really positive, reinforcing ways of helping people make the right decisions as well. If we're constantly being harsh and mean and judgmental, then we're sharing that, right? When God revealed his character to Moses, that was part of it. He also revealed that he can be harsh, he can be judgmental. But is he asking us to be judges, or is he asking us to reflect the kindness of his character with each other? All right, and my last slide for the whole week. I won't mention any names, but her husband's name is Jim, and she has sons Stephen and Paul and Nathan and Andrew and daughters Sarah and Rebecca, but I won't mention any names. But this is her Bible case, and I just saw this from the platform the other day, and I said, I'm putting that in my slideshow. I've never seen this version, and I looked in 1 Peter 4 in Blue Letter Bible at all the different versions and didn't find it at all. It's similar to the NIV, but it's a little bit better than the NIV translation too. I just loved the phrasing. I didn't even recognize the verse when I saw this version of it, but it's beautiful. Above all else, love each other deeply. And I think in all my life, I've seen a lot of Bible case covers that I did not like very much. I love this one. This is beautiful. So this is our final word for the week from me. Above all else, love each other deeply. Thank you. I should, before I stop, put it on mute.
On behalf of everybody here, I'd like to thank Gord for all of his work this week, and to say we've very much appreciated all that you've done. So.
My pleasure. All right, I got to talk some more now. Last year I was at, I'm muted here. Last year I was at Gathering, Slippery Rock, and my whole topic for the whole week was on love. And at the end of every class, Brother Guy Custer was presiding for the whole week for the talks, and after every class, when I finished my class, he came up and gave me a hug. And Jessica said, well, you might not get a hug after, there's no presider, so you might not get a hug after every class, so I appreciated that. Thank you. Oh, and it's 1 minute to 10, so I give you back a minute. You have a 16-minute break now.
Getting out of the CGF.